What's good, guys? It's TSG. In today's video, I have with me a special guest. I have with me MetaVerse Explorer, who's primarily a Star Atlas content creator. And I've obviously got him here to chat about the debate last night and kind of give our thoughts and opinions on just how it all went and share our opinions on what we think should have happened in the space. Anyway, how's it going, my man?
Hey, man, TSG, thank you very much for having me on here. I'm super excited to talk about and have a great, productive conversation about the debate, if you can call it a debate, that happened last time. So I'm doing very well. I'm happy to be here, and I'm ready. Let's do it.
Awesome, man. So obviously, like you said, we're going to discuss the debate. The first thing I want to do is we've had a bit of an introduction, but I actually want to get to know you a little bit better before we start the deep conversation.
Sure.
So I want to ask, how long have you been in the crypto space for? How long have you been in the content creation side of things for? What made you start with the content creation? What made you start with crypto gaming? Just a rough, I know there's a lot there to cover, but kind of pick whatever you want to go in, which direction you want to go in.
I've had a few interviews, so I've had to practice what my response is. So basically, I discovered Bitcoin in 2014. I was working at Macca's, pimple-faced boy, didn't care at all. Like, I was like, meh, so what? And then like fast forward to 2017, I'm not working at Macca's anymore. I'm like doing nursing on the side. And I hear about BTC hard fork, and I'm like, oh, that's still around. I should look into it. BTC hard fork came, got involved in the space, went through bull cycle 2017, 2018, all the way down slump. And after all this time, like all the way until a year and a half ago, give it maybe a year ago, I decided I'm learning a lot within this Web3 space. And it's actually very hard for some people to get involved in this space because the quality of information I see on YouTube sometimes is crap. People do not put in enough effort or enough production quality to educate people. And so I thought I can actually do not better than someone, but I can actually produce some of this content in a better sense because in nursing as well, I have a postgraduate in adult education. So I thought I could take some adult learning principles from nursing and apply it to Web3 video making. Watch YouTube, download Adobe, learn how to edit, learn how to create a thumbnail, and I can produce Web3 content for a lot of people. Now, how did I actually get to gaming? I got onto Solana a little bit earlier and identified that people don't care about what chain the game is going to be on, right? They just need fast, quick settlement transactions. And so far, the only chain providing that was Solana. And so I thought Solana might be the gaming chain. I'm going to go on there. I'm going to find a game that I really like and I want to get involved with. And that was Star Atlas at the moment. I was familiar with Illuvium, but man, I could not participate on ETH because of the fees. So like as a gamer, I can't do that. So they lost me there. Like I still love it, but it lost me. So that's where I am up to now. I creating content from a year and a half ago. And people like the content. I got lots of subscribers. They wanted me to continue. So I'm still doing it. And that's that's the story until now.
Yeah, awesome. Actually, that thing that you kind of mentioned about Solana being the gaming blockchain and ETH kind of pushing people, I won't say pushing people, but restricting people from joining in based on the fees and whatnot. That's a very fair statement. And I think it's going to be a thing in the future where we need to really consider like layer twos. I think the whole like immutable X thing that's happening on Ethereum and Illuvium, that's going to be like helpful. And especially now that they've got the onboarding from a debit card onto immutable X marketplace and then off.
Direct.
Yeah, that's super helpful. But again, I think we're still quite far away from that. But
maybe I should like correct myself now. Like that was a year and a half ago when I identified Solana as the gaming chain. I no longer feel that right now. We talked about it before pre-interview that I actually feel like gaming, it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't matter what chain it's on. It's going to be fast and permissionless. So it could be any chain. It could be a layer 0 chain. It might not exist yet. We don't know. It could be something that interoperates with Solana. Like while there are lots of games on Solana, probably the chain with the most games, I would say, Immutable X is coming up behind them, right? If they don't like go within this route really quickly, IMX is going to catch up, and maybe Optimism, maybe Arbitrum, any layer 2 scaling solution is going to come and catch them.
Absolutely. And like you say about again, I agree. I don't think it's a single chain that's going to win this. I think it's going to be the game and the IP. Like, for example, you might be a Metal Gear Solid fan, and that's going to be, you're going to buy a PlayStation and play that. You might be a Super Mario fan or a Smash Brothers fan. You're going to buy a Nintendo. You're not going to restrict yourself and say, that's Nintendo. I'm not touching that. That makes no sense. If the IP in the game is good enough, you're going to go that way.
And people love to spend money on their games, right? They won't care where it is. They want to play this specific game, FIFA 2025, whatever it is, on PS6. They're going to buy a PS6.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Like, I'm legitimately waiting for I'm waiting to buy my PS5 when Hogwarts Legacy comes out. Like, that's the game where I'm like, all right, that's where I need to step on
I saw the gameplay. That's really nice. It's really good.
It looks wild. It looks wild. All right, cool. Back on track.
Yes.
So the first question I need to ask you, man, and it has to be asked: who won the debate, in your opinion?
Okay, who won the debate? Tough one. I would say one. This was not a debate, which means there was not a winner. If a gun to my head, I would say Star Atlas / Michael Wagner won the debate.
Yeah.
Your viewers might not agree with me, but if we think about it from perspective of just watching the interview, of no one having any context, right? Coming in to discover Star Atlas, discover Illuvium, man, your Kieran came across like a bit of a dick, in my opinion. I don't want to get in trouble with your viewers, but man,
be straight.
He was like, yeah, he's straight. Yeah. And like, me and you were straight as well, but there was no need for the kind of interactions that he was going for. And sheerly because of that, I think people will come into that interview and see like, oh, I don't like this guy, but this guy is super professional. He's trying to answer the questions. He's allowing time for the opponent to speak while he's not allowing time at all. In regards to the context, the questions, they were all valid, right? They were all good questions, but man, the way that he asked them was sometimes rude, sometimes like just not good enough to be a pioneer in Web3 gaming. Personalities in crypto are dangerous, man. Do Kwon, Suzu, Mashinsky from Celsius, 3AC. Man, you got to be careful if you got a hothead temper. You got to say a couple things and community's against you. So to answer your question, I would say there's not really a winner in all of this. It wasn't a good debate. But if you put a gun to my head, I would say Star Atlas, Michael Wagner came out a little bit on top of this, because this was like an aggressive punching blows coming to you and taking it in stride and still managing to give good information. We didn't even talk about Illuvium at all.
Yeah. So that was that's so interesting, right? Because obviously I reacted on the arcade panel and everyone, because I disagree, like completely.
Yeah, sure.
Just being upfront. That's why I want to have this conversation. I kind of want to see, because I think both of us can be civil in this conversation. Yeah. So regarding, I think the thing about that I hear from a lot of the folk that are saying that Star Atlas won that one, and again I agree about there not really being a certified winner. If I have to choose, I have to choose.
Yep.
So let me try and address it point by point so we don't go all over the place. So for it not being a debate, I was actually surprised, and I mentioned this on the arcade stream as well. I don't know what people expected, because based on the way that we went into it,
the context of how
the context of it,
started.
It's like it didn't seem like it was going to be an Illuvium versus Star Atlas. It looked like it was going to be someone asking and pressing questions to one side. So I kind of came in expecting that already. So I didn't expect Wagner to kind of like go back. And even at the very start, he said, yo, I don't care about what you guys are doing. So it didn't seem like he wanted Illuvium side of things to even share what they were doing. It was just him it seemed like he set himself up to be on the defensive the entire way through.
Yes.
So it wasn't even that he was put in that position. I think he could have changed on Twitter, it was definitely said that way. He could have changed the narrative,
attacking, but he didn't.
Yeah, or even kind of like engaging in a back and forth way. But he kind of put his feet in the ground and said, "Yo, I'm going to be in this position where I am going to be defending and holding tight." So with that being the context set at the very beginning, it seemed obvious that one person had to be the aggressor and one person had to. So with that in mind, that's why I didn't really take points away from Kieran for doing that, because someone had to do that in a debate. If you have any debate, it's a for and against, right? So that was that. In regards to Kieran's attitude and the way he came across, I completely empathize with the way people kind of feel about it. Yo, he might be a dick. I get that. But the way the way for me, I explain it, and I'm a huge fan of, like, I respect real internal confidence and that real. I like the bravado. So
saying what you mean, meaning what you say.
Not sugarcoating things and kind of just saying it, right?
Yep.
But I will say the negative thing about Kieran as well. I'm not going to just like blow smoke up his ass. The thing that for me, when I looked at it, and I talked to some people off camera as well. I think with Kieran in that attitude, was misinterpreted in regard. Like, and I'll explain what I mean. Like, sure. I think it was passion. I think it was passionate. And the example that I gave to someone was, imagine that, say you're a parent and you have a child that you love very, very dearly, and you have this set of values and principles that you want to instill in that child and how they grow up. And obviously that means a lot to you. You're very passionate about this. And then you find out that they go to school, and the teacher who spends 8 hours a day with them is teaching them the opposite of the things that you're trying. Are you going to go into that conversation calm, cool, and no, you're going to feel a certain way, right? Because that's your child is the thing that you love the most in the world. And this person or this other entity is coming at it with the opposite way. And of course, it's going to affect you. So of course, you're going to be passionate and heated. Yeah. So that's kind of, and so when the way Kieran acted, I felt was very, honestly, natural. And it was a very human way to act. And I don't like, I don't know. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Do you agree, disagree?
So I can fully empathize with the concept of, the baby. This is your baby. You want to protect it. You'll do anything for it. And someone's coming along and teaching them different values to what you hold. But at the same time, you cannot put your own values onto someone else's company and the way they're running their operation, right? Yes. Just because Star Atlas and Michael Wagner were not doing things in accordance to the values set by Illuvium and Kieran Warwick doesn't mean Star Atlas was in the wrong. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just because they're doing it differently doesn't mean it's bad. So for me, he's protecting his baby, his child, which is Web3 retail participants. But in my opinion as well, he's being too forceful. It's like the parents that is constricting you, and the parents that is smothering you so much that you don't actually go to this side and explore yourself. And what happens to the kids that grow up like that? They grow up to be dicks sometimes, or they grow up to be way over the line of what they actually wanted to achieve. That sort of stuff. I just think that even if he's protecting his child, which is Web3 gaming, you don't. We and other people or other companies do not have to subscribe to your value system. That's what I got.
Yeah, of course, I agree with that. I agree, and that's why I say I don't think that Kieran handled this perfectly. It's just more that I empathize and the criticisms of his attitude and his approach. For me, I kind of feel is just misinterpreted.
It's justified a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like there are other things to kind of call him out on, but that for me personally, wasn't the main thing.
To take him down, to give minus any points from him.
Yeah, I don't think, but that's fine.
And dude, I totally agree with that. And like, it's a good attitude to have, right? In moderation, portrayed in a good enough way. Like, even let's say you take your example, right, of the kid at school, and the dad comes and the teacher's teaching them something completely crazy. You don't start yelling at the teacher.
Of course.
Like, you have an adult conversation and say, hey, these are the values that we uphold at home. I would like you to uphold that as well. And why aren't you doing this? Not yelling and raising his voice.
I get it. Yeah.
Going to the teacher's headmaster, like, what? We're adults.
No, I get that. And the thing is, like, it was wild. I think that I get it. I definitely understand where you're coming from as well. So
we'll go on to the next point, but slightly related to this is like, and your last point that you were saying about going into it with the frame set of it not being a real debate. It was the shit posting Twitter thread environment of which the discussion was generated is what we should have expected going into it. Okay, but I think people were like myself got a bit too excited. That it was figurehead of Web3 gaming, because there's no one else really in crypto, maybe a big time, another bigger company making another big crypto game, but these two are the major ones with giant communities. And so we and other people got into it thinking, this is going to be a productive like Web3 gaming discussion. But obviously, because of the context of how it started, that's not what it was at all. And that's why like our expectations were up here. We got down here. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we can move on.
Yeah, 100%. All right. So I want to let's dig into some of the things that we think that each of the founders actually did well, right? And then we can kind of again poke holes if we think there are any holes. So in your perspective, let's start with you being the guest. Let's start with Star Atlas. In your perspective, what do you think that Michael Wagner did well in the debate?
Did well. Acted extremely professionally. Even if like he was being talked to with a loud voice, not swearing at, but swearing in the context of being asked a question, and just keeping composure. He did well to, maybe you might not agree, and I have reservations on this as well. He did well to answer some questions and trying to provide the data and information that was being requested to him. Yes, sometimes he wasn't able to really get across because Michael talks a lot. I've covered him since the beginning of Star Atlas, right? Yes, he talks a lot. And sometimes he's not able to get the critical information for you to make that flick in your head to say, yes, he has answered this question.
Yeah.
Sometimes that didn't happen. So I would say he was still able to provide good information. For example, the team members that he was listing across the 4 to 6 events, community participation, all of this sort of stuff. So I'll stop it there. I say 3 things: professionalism, trying to give the information, and just having composure. That's what I would say. And one last thing: being prepared for the interview. Kieran was not prepared for the interview. You got to agree with me there.
I'm curious. We'll go through the points. So again, the professionalism, the composure, I agree with that. I think he definitely did that very, very well. There's no way I can kind of debate that. I'm curious. I won't say I disagree with you, but I want more information first.
Sure.
In what way? And I'll be completely transparent. I followed the Star Atlas project somewhat. I'm not super well versed. And I haven't watched a lot of Michael Wagner's interviews and things like that. So I don't know his personality. So
that's
it's
fine.
very hard.
We're on the opposite sides. You're cool. Illuvium, I'm Star Atlas. We're coming together. Yep.
Yeah, awesome. So I want to ask you, in what way did you think that Kieran wasn't prepared? That because I've heard that a few times, but I just don't see it. I don't get that perspective. So I want to hear what you say first, and then I can give my rebuttal if there is one.
Okay. Hard on top of my head to think of a specific item, but it would have to be stuff about the token unlocks, stuff about the VC funds investing money ahead of time and getting the ships, which is a valid point, right? If you guys remember that topic, it was about VC funds like Animoca having ships on top of a bigger ship so that when the PvP starts, they have an upper hand, right? But it's the same thing. Illuvium had a partnership with YGG as well. YGG got a whole bunch of ILV tokens, right? What's like if you have land, nothing stopping YGG to go and purchase a huge bulk of land. But anyway, so he wasn't prepared in the sense that I don't think he did enough research on Star Atlas itself and the vision of what Star Atlas might be trying to achieve. And he came in with the idea that with an attack plan, which was, you're trying to do this in 1 year and a half, 2 years, and you have less developers than us. We did this in this time, so technically you won't be able to do it within that time frame that you're trying to sell to your customers. So I think he just came in with a set of information that he had gathered that was not broad enough to have a conversation about the scope of Star Atlas.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I won't really kind of counter that too hard because obviously we're gonna have our own perspectives. And again, I don't know enough about Star Atlas myself to say, who's 100% prepared. We can leave that. But with some of the points that you kind of talked about, and then we can move on to what Kieran did well and didn't do well. So with some of those points about, let's say, for example, the VC thing, right? Because this is something that I think about. And again, transparent, to be clear, I want Star Atlas to do well, right? I really do. I think that if they manage to do what they aim to do, it's going to be an insane thing for everyone playing, every gamer in the world.
We both want both of them to do well because if one of them fails, like Kieran said, the other one might have some consequences, right? Just like CeFi, 3AC going bankrupt, it drags down the entire industry.
100%.
If Star Atlas and if Illuvium, something drastic really happens to them, the entire Web3 gaming space is going to be cut in half, cut in like 75%. That's what's going to happen. But
yeah, 100%. So no, I'm glad, because I'm glad that we both kind of coming into this with that same perspective. So some of the points that I want to get your thoughts on. So with the whole VC, like again, the whole idea of VCs buying ships, I don't think it's exactly the thing that he didn't really do well was explain or really clarify the questions at hand. I think he kind of made these broad questions. And that's one thing that I think that Kieran should be taking a point away from, right? Like that's what he didn't do well.
To clarify, sorry, to clarify, you're saying that Kieran didn't ask the questions in a good enough way?
Correct. Or like when he did ask the question and it wasn't answered the way he wanted it to be answered, or wasn't answered directly, he should have re-clarified that in a more articulate way. And I don't think he did that.
Come back to it. Hey, you didn't answer the question properly.
This is exactly what I'm asking.
This is what I'm asking. The information you're giving me is an answer to another question. That's not what I asked. Yeah,
correct. And I do think, and I do think that honestly, I think that should have been the moderator's job to be able to perceive the questions that were being asked, and then focusing on that. But we can leave that. So the question I think that he was asking about the VCs buying ships with gaming in general and buying items in games, something like Star Atlas. Again, I'm making assumptions here, so correct me if I am wrong.
Yeah, let's go.
Say we buy the ships right now.
Yep.
Once the game actually launches in 7 years, 9 years, whatever the number is, these ships are gonna have certain utilities and the whole balancing thing. Why would people in the future come in to play the game when those already now have such a huge advantage over them? Like the ability to catch up is almost impossible. And then also, if they change that to say that the new ships are going to be more powerful and do give you more benefits in the future, why would people be buying? Isn't it selling like the current investors in these ships a bad product because you know that there's going to be something better in the future? Do you understand what I mean? So if these are the best ships, new players coming in later are going to be left behind. If these aren't the best ships because they need to make it better for the future and new players, it's selling the investors now a
crap ships.
Pretty much, right? Ships that are going to be less useful in the future. And I think that was the question he was asking, and that's the way I looked at it as well. And I agree with the questioning, and that's why I'm curious to know. Obviously, you're not part of the Star Atlas team, just a community member, but I'm curious to know what your thought is on that question and how you would respond to that.
Yeah, sure. So first, I would say that there has been no indication to say that ships in the future are going to be better. The only thing we know that now is that the ships we have now will never be released ever again. So if you equate that to being performancely better, like statistics-wise, then that's a no-brainer. You can't do that because they're saying that these are just the specific type of ships. You can manufacture them later, but they won't be these same ships that are released now, okay? In accordance to the stats, yes, there might be ships later on that are still more powerful, but they will cost the required amount of cost to actually manufacture them. Okay, that they'll still need more resources than the stuff we have now to create. And coming back to your question as to as to the people that have ships now, I'm sorry, I'm losing it. What was the first question you had?
So the first question, it was essentially it's the two things, right? It's if the current ships are the best ships, people in the future coming into the game are going to feel left behind. There's no way to catch up.
They're not the best ships according to statistics. They're normal ships. Other ships made later will be of the same statistics. They just won't be the ships that are made now.
So they'll be of the same. So it's the design that's going to be different. That's essentially
design,
what it is.
Yeah. It's like this. Okay. This is gaming like 101, right? Everyone wants that skin that only 50 of them exist in existence. And that's what it is. It's mostly a cosmetic thing, and maybe a slight bit of buff, like a 1 to 5% buff, not member of the team, something like that, like an OG status or buff or badge or something. But it won't be, and they've stated this previously, it will not be a lot more performance than later on now than the ships being released later, because then that would break the game. And I
Yes.
think specifically what Michael was saying is that they all start the ships in a spreadsheet, and they take and they have like economics people, they have gameplay people that look specifically to see how they should really scale these ships. So I have faith, I know that's a bad thing in crypto at the moment, that they are actually on it, and that they know that if you have a ship that's going to be way more powerful later in the future, then maybe we shouldn't really release that now. And we'll keep in mind as well that like these ships can also be destroyed. Like, so the ships that we have now, I don't know if Illuviums can ever be destroyed, Illuvials themselves. Like I'll probably just respawn. But there is a possibility that these limited edition ships being released now, when they go to the high risk zone, and if you have a VC that has like $1 million worth of ships and they go to high risk zone, they could lose all of that. Because us, the guild members, know where the VC is according to the on-chain data, and we can go hunting. So I don't know if that answers your question, but 100%. In short, the ships now have not had an indication to be any more powerful than the ships later on down the line.
But it's just the skin or like that legacy. We got the first design of the ship. It's the bragging, right? But I think what Kieran was asking was, again, if it is going to be better or worse, how's that going to affect future players? Because that actually affects the gameplay and the user experience. I think that was the question, but I think you answered that very well.
And I can fully empathize with that. If I come to a new game that I'm going to explore, and I see that the people who started a year and two before, they paid the same price and they got the ships that are 50% better than me, I am not going to play that game, because I'm setting myself up to lose. And and Star Atlas and the entire community is aware of this, and that's why it's not going to happen.
Right. No, and that's fair. I think, again, and that's completely fair. And I think I agree with that. If that's the route that they're taking, that makes sense. All right. So essentially, we already talked about what Michael Wagner did well, and inadvertently, we already talked about what he could have done better as well. And I want to turn my attention now to Kieran. So from your perspective, what do you think Kieran did well in the interview? And what do you think he could have improved on, which we've already kind of somewhat talked about?
So first thing, he was a hound dog. He knew the questions that he came to ask, and man, did he get to ask those questions, right? He did very well in that respect. He came for his task and he went for it. So like, I commend him for that. Even in the face of being answered, even though he didn't like the answer, he still kept pushing for it. Example would be like the dev team and trying to clarify and cutting him off slightly to go more in depth into this line of questioning. So he did that superbly well. What else did Kieran do well? I would say not really in the context of like content of what they talked about, but more in the domination of the conversation. Most of the time, I don't know if someone will do like a sound bite or something, but I'm sure Kieran probably dominated around like maybe 60-70% of the entire conversation.
No way. You think so?
I think so. You don't think so?
Crazy.
You think Michael Wagner talked more?
Yeah, 100%. I think I think Wagner was like you said, and again, I'm not going to accuse him of dodging questions, but he definitely talks a lot, right? So whether we call it talking a lot, rambling, whatever it is, I think there was definitely more of that than Kieran. But again, that's just my opinion.
That's
it'd be
fine.
cool if someone actually
it's perspective. It's like what I've viewed it to be and what you view it to be. So maybe I should change a little bit with your input there. Maybe not talking the most, but dominating the conversation. Which, as a metric between time and actual like social status, authority, that kind of thing. And this, of course, was a hosting problem, in my opinion, which allowed it to happen. Kagi, oh my God. But yeah, I would say he dominated the conversation. So I would say those two things he did well. Questioning very well and dominating the conversation very well.
Yeah. And what do you think? We've already kind of talked about it, but is there anything else that you think that he could have done better, or apart from his attitude? And,
to be honest, be more professional as a figurehead of Web3 gaming. Like I said, I'm a big fan of Illuvium. I own a land, for God's sake. I'm involved in it. I'm waiting to get into the private beta. I watch gameplay of it like every day. I've done Illuvium videos on my YouTube channel. When they did the third person going through the the sandy zone, I forget what it's called. Yeah, the overworld.
The Crimson Waste.
Yeah, the Crimson, the wasteland. That's right. And like, so I like it, right? But the way he just conducted himself was, for me, like not acceptable of a person of such stature. And we're going to, this is now going to be immortalized right now, okay? People are going to come back and find this conversation. Is this how he'll want to be represented later on down the line? I'm pretty sure I'm going to say no. I don't know what you guys in the Illuvium community are going to say either. So to answer your question, I would think he just needed to be a bit more professional. Even if he's straight to the point, even if he's Aussie like you and I, we can both be Aussie. Like, we're both straight to the point, but man, that was too much.
Yeah, I get you. It could have been toned down, definitely. And I think it's a tough one, right? Because I think it's based on someone's personality as well. If they're more kind of aggressive like that, they're going to appreciate that kind of candor. If they're not, they're going to, like you say, be put off by it. So it's a tough one. It's a tough one to find that balance for.
Apart from that, I don't think he did much else that was, I would take points away from him, except for, like I mentioned before, being a bit slightly more prepared, coming into the debate, or if you can call it that, with a broader mind of what Star Atlas is trying to achieve, and not trying to put Star Atlas into a small bucket or like a game that he was trying to put across. And Michael Wagner keeps saying, no, it's not just a game. Like, we're creating something much larger. With SDK, other people creating assets already for us, and people integrating like on-chain programs for us to interact with Star Atlas without even playing the Star Atlas. We can look at it on-chain. I can fill up my ships using a guild created tool. Like, that's like the metaverse, right? I'm not sure about Illuvium. Maybe you can educate me, but I don't know if you guys have an SDK. I don't know if anyone's been able to create assets on the side and import them into Illuvium. I don't know.
I'm not too clued up on that, I'll be honest. Yeah.
So we'll go back to the topic. I would say he could have done a bit better, but who am I to say? He was very passionate about his child, about Web3 gaming and retail investors, and I am thankful for him, for looking after me and for looking after you and you guys watching.
I'm glad we keep going back to the child analogy. I think that was a good one. All right. So another question I want to ask you, man, is actually, we've touched on it a few times in the conversation about some of the questions that were being asked. One specifically was about the team size of Star Atlas and the developers and whatnot, right? I want to ask you, from your personal opinion, Star Atlas has said that they're taking more of an outsourcing approach from the very beginning, compared to Illuvium, where they're not outsourcing as much and everything's internal, building that internal team. So like you said, and we both agree, there's no right way of doing it. But I want to get your thoughts on how do you think Star Atlas is doing their approach? What do you think is a pro to that? What do you think is a con to that?
Yeah, sure. So starting with Star Atlas, do I agree with it? I don't know enough to say if it's a good plan or not. I'm not a developer. I'm not a game person. Like, I leave it up to the executives who make these decisions. I can kind of surmise a pro and con for each of them, the different styles. So we'll look at Star Atlas. I think it is not a bad decision for them. Yes, when Kieran drilled down to find out that Star Atlas only has 5 internal devs.
4.
Yes, 4. Sorry, 4 internal devs. Thanks for correcting me. 4 internal devs. I'm sure a lot of people will be like, "What? They only have 4 internal devs?" I know, it's like that might become as a shock, right? But having 4 is, yes, a shock. But if you also realize that there is an entire team of like 30 or 40 actual full-time game developers with industry experience of 10 years plus, creating content specifically for you, they're not working with anyone else, and they're creating your UE5 content for you, then hey, that is a really good bonus to have, right? These guys, this is their job in and out all the time. They're not like fresh devs from somewhere else, from another game. They're just working for you. Now, the caliber of the team itself, Spirasoft, I can speak to them. They do lots of work outside. But I think the main crux of the argument was that how many do you have inside your team? And yes, it sounds really bad to have 4, but at the same time, I think if you're a company and for a metaverse project that is of this large scope, right? you don't just need this a giant internal team yourself. If you can achieve it, and if you've had meetings in your executive panels and say that, according to our cost projections and for the purpose that we want to achieve, if we hire this outsource it to this specific talented specialized group of people, they will achieve better results than we can, especially if we spend a lot of time going through the process of hiring, onboarding, getting people up to date on the even Web3 and metaverse and getting blockchains, all of this sort of stuff. No, that's going to be way more cost intensive than getting these people to build it over here and then get your 5 to link it up from your Star Atlas metaverse into the UE5 environment. So I would say, yes, it kind of makes sense to me, especially in the new world of where you can outsource, you can pay someone else to do your job for you. And if you're happy with it, it works. Yeah. Now, we can probably bring it back to Illuvium, where you guys, maybe you can educate me a bit more about it, where most of your developers and your designers are in-house, in-team. Correct. Yeah. Now, this probably has a lot of pros with it because everything is in-house. There's no information leaking outside. There's less friction. There's less production delays because it's you guys that are making it. All your assets that you make, everyone's familiar with it. There's less friction. But at the same time, what happens when the design aspect of the game, when like they're finished building it, are you going to fire all these devs? Like, what are they going to be doing after the game has finished being built? Right? You're going to get rid of them.
No, if you're asking that question, they'll be moving on to the next thing, right? Because Illuvium isn't going to be one game; it's Illuvium Labs. So they're going to be doing other games and whatnot.
Something else that taps into the metaverse, right?
Correct. Because and this goes into the whole, like, I'll touch on this and we'll go back to the question, but this goes back into the whole interoperability. Sorry, that word's the discussion, right? And how I think some people in the Web3 gaming space, they want to see Ready Player One, essentially, where Illuvium can move into Star Atlas can move into it's Axie. I'm just putting out names out there right now. But, so everything's just interoperable. The thing is, I don't think that's a realistic thing to look at right now. And again, I use this example to someone else. It's like, imagine the TV wasn't even invented yet, but someone's talking about how we're going to make VR. That makes, relax, take some steps fast.
Maybe steps,
I think,
and then you can run.
Exactly. Correct. And so I think what Illuvium is trying to do is, I know what Illuvium is trying to do is, they're trying to build interoperability in their IP, in their universe. So you catch things in the main game, and then you have Illuvium Kart Racer, which that's interoperable. And they're trying to build a suite of games where everything. So in regards to the devs, going back to it, or in regards to the devs being laid off, that's not going to be a thing because they're just going to be moving and building and expanding, right? So that's answering that one question of what's going to happen to the devs. So my opinion about the outsourcing thing, and I want to get your thoughts as well. I don't think there's anything wrong with outsourcing. I think for scaling purposes, you're going to need to outsource. There's no running away from that. For me, I think that I won't say it's suspect. I think I'm trying to find the right word. I think it would be more.
It doesn't present the company. Sorry, maybe I'm putting words in your mouth, but it doesn't present the company as you're the guys making it. That's probably the argument I think
I think it's a better thing to do if the majority of the development is coming inside, like the majority, more than 50%,
60%, 40% outside.
And correct. And that to me makes sense for two reasons. One, what's the word when people look at something, the perception of the company itself. And secondly, us as content creators know, and like I used to do music as well. And if I'm outsourcing a track to someone to mix, or if we're outsourcing an edit to someone, they might say, oh, this takes 2 days. When if we know exactly what actually goes into it, we know it takes a couple of hours. Like it might take 5 hours, but outsourcing it delays things. It reduces the efficiency of doing things. True. So now if you're saying that that's objectively true. I think no one outsourcing believes that outsourcing speeds up the process. It definitely takes time. It takes more time. So if you're taking those two things into consideration, one, it's not that great for the perception of the company or the organization if you're outsourcing more things. That's objectively, we agree, is true. And second, we objectively understand that the efficiency of development is going to be lower. to me, it's again, I don't think that outsourcing is wrong. I just don't think that it's the right play to make, and that's just my opinion. And I try to back it up with those two reasons as well. So I don't know if you
counterpoint to this. So I think we might be talking about two different things as well. So yours was that outsourcing might take more time, right? But in this case, Michael Wagner explained that they identified that it would be more efficient for them, right? And maybe this comes across that we're not in the industry, so we don't actually know the decisions they had to make. But I can fully appreciate that, yes, outsourcing it could have more friction, which increases delays, which doesn't give you a product on time when you need it. But this is web development, right? It's all going to take a lot of time. Illuvium has been delayed already once. Star Atlas has been delayed already once, twice. Like we're talking about delays and delays where both projects have been delayed already. So we're both in the same boat. So really, in-house or out of house, they're both delayed. What do you want?
No, I get you. Yeah, there's both going to be delays. I think in game development in general, like no one puts a date out and then they hit it. That's not a thing that happens in this industry at all.
And because of this, Michael Wagner specifically doesn't like to put dates out anymore, because the community, we kept hounding him. When is this coming? When is this coming? And they put out dates, and unfortunately they weren't able to meet them. And this is where the whole meme thing of our 4 to 6 came from. We had the Copa event. It was called 4 to 6 event. And it was a whole play of words on them shitting on themselves and saying, we always used to say, it's going to come in 4 to 6 weeks. That's when we expect things to launch. 4 to 6 weeks come, it didn't come. And now we have this whole event as a meme culture with a whole community saying, we're going to call it 4 to 6 events.
Well, that's something,
Sorry, go.
Now I was going to say, that's something that at least both of our communities have in common. Both of our CEOs don't put dates out anymore. And there's been a meme culture. We've had, in Illuvium, we've had 7 hours be a thing, because there was a thing that was meant to be coming out in 7 hours. That didn't happen. So if anyone says, when's the game coming out? In 7 hours or very soon is the thing that we always say as well. So
I mean, you got to take it in stride. Like we're not behind the wheel behind these things. These cars are driving at 100 miles an hour, going that way. We want to see it past,
Absolutely. Man, this conversation is going way longer than I actually expected it to.
That's okay.
If there's, I'll touch on one more topic and then we can kind of close it out, unless you really want to, there's other things you want to talk about. But
I've got one thing that I want to talk about after, and it's something I dislike that Michael did after the interview. So we'll go through your point and then we'll talk about one thing.
Yeah, for sure. All right, cool. Okay, the final thing, and this is something where it's going to be, let's not even talk content creator to content creator. Let's talk about person to person, right? Like gamer to gamer, right? So again, I really want to see Star Atlas kind of succeed. I've already mentioned that. It's a game that it looks like I want to play. The idea of it is something that I want to play. The thing for me, which is why I didn't invest in Star Atlas and I did go with Illuvium instead, is the scope. And I mentioned this on the arcade, the scope of the game and the amount of breaking points that the time frame gives it, right? So what Illuvium kind of presented itself as is a small overworld, not an MMORPG, a small overworld with select areas that can be designed, and essentially it's an order battler. It's just those two things. And that's not promising the world and the universe. It's not promising something we haven't seen before. So for me, it was very easy for me to make that decision. Yes, this seems doable. I believe in the founders. I believe in the teams. That makes sense to me. Star Atlas, on the other hand, the idea and the concept is genius. The concept is genius. But if we look at historical facts of things like Star Citizen, if we look at Cyberpunk, which was in development for 9 years, and the scope of Cyberpunk is so much smaller than Star Atlas, and they still botched it in 9 years. So, and they had a lot more resources than Star Atlas does. So I'm not saying that it's not possible or it's not going to happen, but these are the concerns that I have as a gamer and potential investor, that for me, I need to be objective and say, these are the things that I look for and look at. So I'm curious to see, what are your thoughts? Because you must acknowledge that as well, right? Or
absolutely. Absolutely. So I'll have a go at that. So I fully agree 100% with you that there's more breakpoints when you look at the comparison between Star Atlas and Illuvium, right? I can probably summarize it in like the risk curve. I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with the risk curve, right? So you came into both of these projects and you saw Illuvium down here at the risk curve because they identified that their scope was this much, they could deliver this much. Whereas Star Atlas is up here on the risk curve here, where they're saying they can do this much and they can do all this much, right? And you identify that this much is much more achievable than all the way up here. And that's a very fair assessment to make, right? So I don't know what else to say, but yeah, like I totally agree with you that there's gonna be breakpoints. And and just because Cyberpunk failed, and which was, you know, that got me hard as well. You know, I was such a fan of it. I even played it like two playthroughs, but after that, even if I lost my train of thought, but Cyberpunk, yes, they botched the delivery, even though they were working on it for so long. The same thing could happen to Star Atlas all the way at the risk curve at the top here, right? They could spend all this money, $200 million, raising ships, active community, and it takes one hack or one devastating DAO proposal exploit, or one something black herring out of nowhere that's going to actually fizzle the whole thing out. Yes, that can happen, and that's why it's the risk curve is all the way up here. The same thing, unfortunately, can still happen to Illuvium down here.
Of course.
Or I know you guys have had one security issue already. I don't know if you've had any more than that, but you know, like Illuvium can still be spending all this time to try and deliver a product, and could still end up as Cyberpunk at the end of it. So the same argument can be applied to both of them. But yes, Star Atlas has a much more, like a higher multiplier of breakpoints than Illuvium. I would agree with you there.
Okay, yeah, cool. And yeah, I'm definitely not saying that it's not possible for Illuvium. Like you say, we've already had a security issue. That's like, these things are, and that's the thing where for me as a gamer and potential investor, I look at that and I'm like, all right, cool. By the way, not financial advice, guys. Like I do look at that and say, all right, cool. If one project is like looking to be put out in the next 2 years, the other one at least 7 to 9.
It's where's your time frame? Where are you coming into this from? Unfortunately, crypto is still a huge gambling percentage. Speculator 100%. Percentage is very high at the moment. So people are happy to go, and I'm not saying this is good or bad, right, for your decision or not for others, but people are happy to know that within 2 years they will have something here at the bottom of the risk curve, where, you know, they're trying to achieve the game within 2 years, and it's possible. And others have a different risk parameters set to you. Or like people, I myself, I'm interested in Illuvium up here, and I'm also interested in Star Atlas up here. I just didn't put that much money into Star Atlas up here because the risk curve and breakpoints are much higher.
That's fair. That's fair. And I think as long as the community knows that, I think that's the important thing. But all right, cool, man. I'll leave that as the last final point. I know you had one last thing to say before we close off, so I'll throw it your way.
I don't know if I can share my screen here, but I'll try.
For sure.
Because, so this is after the, I'm going to share it. Can you let me know if you can see it?
Yep. Give me 1 sec.
Yeah. So this is Michael Wagner's Twitter, right? This is what we're looking at. After the debate, I'm sure they both went away and talked to their teams and gave each other a, how did you do? What did you do wrong? That sort of stuff. I don't know how this slipped through the cracks, but I'm sure Michael Wagner did some posting, right? And he did something that I think is not good. Bad sportsmanship, not becoming of him, and totally goes against how he portrayed himself within the debate. So basically he says, hey, Kieran, curious if this is your treasury. So they're talking about the Star Atlas treasury, right? And you can go there and
Illuvium
treasury. You can look at the Illuvium treasury, right? And you can see all the tokens in there. You can see they got like $20 million, some USDC, USDT, whatever. They got some ILV as well. Okay, no problem. That's fair game. You and I, we can probably sleuth on the internet, look at Discord channels, find the project's treasury, no problem. And then he doubles down and says, just wanted to check if this is your address. His own address. And of course, we can see here, he says, just running some math, no big deal. That is bad sportsmanship. To post someone else's, like a public figure like this, to post their own personal address, which has less than $1 million in it, the amount doesn't matter, right? But to post someone's personal address on the internet for everyone else to go and see, man, like, I like Michael Wagner, but this is not good behavior. I went to the Discord channel. I said, dude, not cool. This is not becoming of you. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say. I didn't like it at all. Like, obviously, I can be objective, right? I'm a nurse. I look after people like that are dicks sometimes, and I still do my best to look after them. But this is not cool, and that's what I wanted to share. I don't know what your community thinks about it. If you're in the comments now, write down what you think, why, like, if he did this, if it was good or not. I generally don't think it was. What do you think?
I personally don't think so. Again, the treasury thing, that's fair game because obviously that's pretty public information anyway. The personal stuff, and especially, I don't know, like, this is, again, one thing where I think Kieran did well, like, at the very end when the olive, I'm going to put this in air quotes now based on this action, when the olive branch was given to Kieran was like, nah, I'm good, man. Like, I'm a stay. Like, he was true to his beliefs, and he was like, I'm not going to pretend and do this performative shit. Whereas I feel like Michael did extend that olive branch and then come back and do this. And it's like, yo, which side are you actually playing? Are you really trying to be the nice guy, or are you trying to still take shots? Like, choose one. Choose one and stick with it.
Exactly.
And again, if he had stuck with it and being like, man, like fuck you, like, I would have been cool with that. It's like, man, I respect that. Fair play.
Yeah.
But you can't pretend to be a nice guy and then do this. Like, it just seems
And that's why I'm upset at it the same way as you are, because this is not what he presented himself to be within the debate. Not in character at all. And I did see that olive branch. I know we're going to wrap up soon. We did see that olive branch, and Kieran sticking to his guns and say, I'm not going to accept this olive branch because I still think you guys are shitting on retail people, and we're not going to do it. And, that's totally fine. That's totally fair. Both projects can still great.
You don't need to agree. You have to respect it, like, right?
And I know we're going to wrap up. We didn't even touch on Kagi at all, but that's okay. I'm sure everyone who watched it can form their own opinion. You can just watch the first 5 minutes and you can get your own opinion about it.
I think, honestly, I'll say this. I don't even mind saying this publicly, but I know I always try to be positive and, like, good, like, and present a positive thing outside. But I think publicly we can all agree the real loser of the debate was Kagi. Like, just horrendous. Like,
are we sure? We got some. He got some viewers to pay for his damn
that was ridiculous,
Zoom subscription, for God's sake.
It was ridiculous, honestly, man. Like, I mean, we could talk about it, but Jesus, man, I just feel like the again. I'm all for, like, overconfidence and all of that, but yo, you can't become. And again, I get the entertainment value, but find the balance, fam. This is not a joke between. And at the end, yo, this is meant to be a joke. No, it's not, fam.
When he said that, I lost my shit. Are you kidding? This is a joke? This is a joke to you? These are the pioneers of Web3 gaming. You managed to get them in the same room to have a debate, and this was just a joke. Are you kidding?
Yeah, like, that we're talking about $200 million worth of retail money, or not retail, but like capital. Like, this is not a joke. It's wild. It was just like ridiculous. That's one thing I fault Kieran on. The bullshit at the end. Oh, yo, Kagi did it. Nah, fam. He should have been the one you were calling out.
Yeah, they were both posting on Twitter on this profile. You did fine. No, he didn't. What are you guys talking about? You just want to keep face. Nah, man.
Yeah. I don't know. And I don't know how old he is. Maybe he's just a kid. Like, actually, he looks like a kid. But maybe, man, I shouldn't be too hard. But be objective. You can't go around saying I was the best moderator. Man, you did nothing. You sat there and just shut up. You shut up. If that's the best totally moderator, Jesus, all of us are.
Biased to Star Atlas, wasn't he? I think he was a bit more biased to Star Atlas. Like, I would like to moderate myself. I would try my best to not be biased. And that's what every moderator should do. Someone will have some form of bias somewhere.
Of course.
But man, could have been done a lot better. But maybe we should leave it there. I put
my hand up as well. I put my hand and I'm like, I'd be happy moderating as well. I feel like I could do that. But anyway, anyone except for Kagi, honestly, like, anyone except for him. But honestly, man, thank you so much for coming on, dude. This was a super fucking insightful conversation. I really, really respect you. I've told you this off camera already. I respect the way you conduct yourself. I respect your thoughts, everything about that. For anyone that actually doesn't know, before I let you go, plug your socials. How do people follow you, get in touch with you? And like I said before as well, I will do what I can to try to get you into the beta. No promises, but I will try what I can.
That's fine. So, thank you very much for having me, TSG. I'm the MetaVerse Explorer. You can find me on Twitter at me_metaverse, or you can just type in MetaVerse Explorer in YouTube, and I'm like 10 of the first 20 videos, so you'll see me. I cover gaming, I cover Web3 participation if you're interested in layer 2 solutions. If you're interested in Solana, I do videos that I will help you participate in Web3. So that's what I do. Feel free to follow me, like and subscribe for me. And thanks again, TSG, for having me. It was a super productive conversation. I'm happy we got together. And even though we don't agree, right, on the different perspectives that we saw and the different information, we didn't yell at each other. We still got through the conversation, and it was good. So thank you for having me. I appreciate your viewers right now. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, all good. Yo, thank you guys. If you like this type of content, as always, you guys know what to do. Hit the link below, subscribe to MetaVerse. But for me as well, like, subscribe, hit the notification button. You guys know what to do, and we'll catch you guys next time. Peace.